What's up, guys? This is not a podcast. Okay, this is just the Issa Hoops YouTube channel doing something a little bit different here. I'm Matt Issa, the guy who you've probably heard narrating in some videos. This is my good friend, my coworker at Sportscasting NBA and Basketball Insiders. Got Ben Pfeifer. What's up, Ben?
How's it going, Matt? Excited to be on here. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, me and Ben have actually collaborated on tens of articles together, but we've never had a conversation this long before on a. That's
On
the
a
beauty
podcast
of,
form.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is the
no.
beauty of working remote is like you could just like know a guy for years without actually really getting to know him. So today I'm really gonna really get under Ben's skin, figure it out what it is that
I
makes
was
him
gonna say,
him.
I'm prepared for this. I've got a board. I, I've got my names prepped and ready.
I think I'm gonna surprise you. But real quick, before we even get into that, I should probably explain to you guys what you're listening to right now. So if you couldn't, tell by the title, we got a 2021 redraft here. So we're gonna take the first 14 picks. Me and Ben are gonna flip flop the picks, and we're gonna just redraft it. Right? We're gonna do some revisionist history. Okay, this is a forward facing exercise, right? So we're not just like by achievements, current achievements in their first 4 years. I feel like that would be pretty straightforward if we did it that way. But we're taking what they've already done, what they've shown us, and doing a little bit more projecting because I mean it's only been 4 years. We saw like a guy like Lauri Markkanen, right? He was what is he in year 5, year 6 before he really started to blossom into the kind of player we've seen him become today. So that's what we're gonna do here. Other rules I should explain probably. What was I gonna say? This is bad. This is a bad start already.
You
But you know
said that
what?
we're
We're gonna go.
projecting forward.
Yeah, we're projecting. We're projecting forward. I had another thing I wanted to say though. Oh man, it doesn't
Like,
really matter. I
subscribe,
guess.
comment. Let's get
Oh yeah,
Matt
you
to.
should do those things.
You got a
We should do those
subscriber
things.
goal right now?
I mean, I think it's the subscriber goal everybody has when they make a YouTube channel.
What,
1K would
just
be
like to get a
nice.
thousand to get monetized?
Yeah,
All right, let's
yeah. So
get
I get
Matt to
money.
1,000 subscribers. Let's do it.
Yeah, Ben, you have pull. You have pull in the YouTube
I,
community, don't you?
yeah, let's. I don't know. Do I?
You got a couple K on you,
Yeah,
right? I remember.
yeah. We can. I'll mobilize my small army of viewers.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to mention, I remembered, is that we are not drafting based on fit, right? So we're not saying like, Herb Jones would fit well along Jaden Ivey and Tobias Harris, blah, 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 right? So it's just purely like just ranking these guys based on who we think would be the most useful to a championship team. Sound about right?
For
Nice,
sure.
nice.
Yeah. No. Not like the Pistons or take. Yeah. For sure.
hmm Now, speaking of the Detroit Pistons, I think because I know the top two guys both hold a special place in your heart, so I want you to take the first pick. I want you to be the first pick, so that means you would be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11,
That's
13,
messed
and I
up.
would do
But
the evens. But I know you love both of those guys, so I kind of want to see where you're at with them.
all right. So we started off.
Yeah, go ahead, man. It's all you. Your
I'm
world.
taking Evan Mobley. I have for quite a while. I've been Cade. I've held firm with Cade as the top guy in this class for like redraft purposes, but I think I flipped it last season after seeing what Mobley did. But like you said, I love both of these guys, and I do think it's pretty close. Those are the two guys I had in like my tier one. Cade Mobley, just like the way he turns into a guy where you could really see the offensive vision with him, not just this year, but like long term, bringing the ball up more. His jumper's been a lot better over the last couple of seasons, and it's like the thing with these guys who like take or like beginning to take threes, but the volume is low. Like, yeah, Evan Mobley doesn't really take a lot of threes, but he's at 37% over the last 2 years. And he doubled his volume this past year, so there's definite progress there, right? Like very efficient, complementary scorer, obviously, but like incredibly impressive driver. He can really pass. His handle is only getting better, and this was the second straight year we saw him dominate on offense in the playoffs. So I think all of that combined with everyone know he just won the defensive player of the year. Everyone knows who he is on defense. Makes me think that it might just be like a smidge easier to build around Mobley since he's probably a bit smoother of a fit next to like great high end players. Where I think Cade can definitely do that, but it might just take a little more adjustment. Like Cade has no problem scaling down. Like at Montverde, he was basically like Spurs Chris Paul, like
Hmm.
with the way that he was playing.
Yeah.
Um, 70 true shooting, like 15 usage, just pass, just like setting up teammates. Like he definitely can do that, but like you said, I'm kind of splitting here. It's like I do think this is a pretty clear 1-2, and I will be going with Evan Mobley.
Okay, I just want to say something real quickly about Mobley. You mentioned the 3-point shooting, right? And the only reason that matters is that he's playing in, and it's going to sound weird with all their success and stuff, but this is probably like a really crappy situation for his set of skills. Wouldn't you say, having to share a front court with another big man where, like, we know he's a good enough
Definitely a weird
defensive
one.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mean,
so
I think
the.
it's suboptimal for him for sure. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
he's a full time five. I mean, he's a five.
Yes.
You know, he gets put on power forward list. So I'm like, he's not a power forward. He's playing out of position because he can. And like the line, and obviously we see what he can do in lineups without Allen. He is a monster when he can just be the lone big. I think his presence really unlocks a lot of lineup versatility too. Like not only with the Allen thing, but also just allowing Cleveland to play more of these like offense guard centric lineups where you can have a guy like DeAndre Hunter who's like an offense centric big wing. So I think Mobley just being like a one man defensive machine kind of makes it so it's just like tough to really game plan for, and I really just pray that we get a healthy Cavs run just one of these seasons. Like maybe we just never get it and this is just one of those teams that's like you're stacking too many guys with injury issues and you probably need to just blow it up and find guys who are, you know, less, if Garland's gonna have a toe injury every year, that's limiting his burst. But like, man, I just want to see these guys healthy because I think Mobley can really help ascend with it. Again, he's still only 24 years old, and we've seen what he can do in the postseason and the regular season. Like, I feel pretty good about Mobley here. But you're right, I do love Cade, and I don't love having to choose between them. But I feel pretty decent.
Yeah, I was with you. He would have been number one on my board. One quick stat, just to affirm all the stuff you were kind of saying, was when Mobley and Allen shared the floor together over the last 3 years, they had a defensive rating, the Cavs did, of a 112.1. Okay? When Evan Mobley was on the floor without Jared Allen, it was a 111.7. So just goes to show you, like, he can anchor his own defense, and so he can play the five. It's not like one of those things where it's like like when Anthony Davis says he doesn't want to play the five, which he can, by the way, but it's not one of those things. So he can play the five. He'd probably look better on offense on the five because he wouldn't have to worry about shooting threes. So the fact that he's this successful in a suboptimal team construct just kind of tells me, like, this guy fits everywhere. Like, his game could fit
Yeah.
everywhere. You know what I mean?
It's
Whereas
hard for
Cade,
it's hard for me to call it fully suboptimal just
mm-hmm,
because like Kenny Atkinson is so good and his
mm-hmm,
guards are so good and his spacing
mm-hmm,
is so good. But there definitely are like you're definitely right. There are aspects of it that are not
mm-hmm.
what you'd want and the ideal situation for Mobley. But hopefully we get that eventually.
Yeah. I just thought, let me bring that up because he fits in there. Like, he works there. It tells me he could probably work almost anywhere else. Whereas with Cade, there is, again, we're picking nits. There is a couple situations where I could see him struggling a little bit. But he would be my number 2 pick. And number 2 pick was the Houston Rockets, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the Houston Rockets. So
Yeah.
they'd be getting Cade Cunningham. A couple other things I want to say about him in terms of being a little bit worse than Mobley future facing wise is, 19th percentile rim finishing is the highest he's ever had in his career. Never eclipsed 36% from 3. These skills that could help you, like, okay, for example, like if Cade was a better cutter, his rim finishing numbers would probably be a little bit better, right? Because part of cutting is actually being able to do something when you move into that pocket of space. The 3-point shooting, you'd like it to be higher, would indicate that he's probably better playing off ball, can be a spacer and all that stuff. So I guess my thing is, like, I don't think Evan Mobley could be, like, the best offensive player on a championship team, but he would have no problem being the number 2 or number 3 while also anchoring the defense. As of right now, from what I've seen from Cade, unless I see an improvement in one of those two areas, I don't think he could be the best player on offense, a championship team. offensively,
Yeah.
and I wonder how hard it would be for him to be a number two.
I think he could be like a 1B, but you'd
Mm-hmm.
probably want another guy who's like your primary scorer. I think you can
Mm-hmm.
definitely put like the decision making load on Cade. Like he's obviously one of the better passing wings, big guard wings in the league, and he's gotten better every year. I do think his efficiency would go up both at the rim and from three if he took less like really difficult off the dribble shots, which would
Mm-hmm.
come from scaling down. But I'm curious. I would be curious about how that fared because it seems like we're not going to get that for quite some time, right? Because the Pistons are certainly committed to building around him. I mean, again, we're like you said, we're picking nits here, but in terms of like, I can think of a lot worse number one options than Cade, even if it's not a perfectly ideal scenario. But I think he's again the fact that Cade is a good defensive player too makes this easier. Where even if it's not a perfect offensive idea. Like he's going to add value on defense, and I think you could argue like he could even add more value on defense when he has more energy to expend on offense. Like he turned his defense up in the playoffs to me. Like I thought he had some really impressive games and moments. Like he over doubled his stocks per game. Like he was from the regular season. He was really impressive to me. And I think there's a lot of good stuff he does on defense, whether it's like playing as a low man because he's a guard and he's 6'7" and he can just do a lot of these things that other guys can't do on defense. I think that's another potential way for him in the future. Hopefully it's the Pistons, since I enjoy this Pistons core, and I hope they can get to a point where they're really competing around Cade. But I think it was. I mean, I think most Pistons. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a Pistons fan who wouldn't agree that last season was a great start, like a great first step in that direction.
Oh yeah. Okay. Now, so you said these two were both in your tier one. Did you have anybody else in your tier one before you make that
No,
third pick? Okay. So
nope.
how big is your tier two before you make that third pick? Because I'm curious if we have the same size. Because mine's kind of
My
big.
my tier two. Well, so it's either one or three. um, so I'm gonna go with my like half tier first guy who's Franz.
Okay.
Um,
That's who I would have taken.
I have him like a half tier above everyone else who I considered. Franz is awesome, man. Like I think because of like unlike Cade, I think his shooting is actually scary.
Mm-hmm.
KM, like I have like basically no worries about his jumper, even if it's like, it's not as 39-40% on crazy volume. Whereas Franz, like this is two straight seasons under 30% on pretty reasonable volume. And there's like obvious mechanical issues. And I think there's also issues with like you see how teams play him because of the jumper and because they can get away with playing off him. But like Franz is so good. Like he's one of the best wing passers in the entire NBA. Like incredible with the ball in his hands, processing the floor on a live dribble. And obviously that combines with him being an excellent driver. Like he's so good at getting downhill, using his stride length and his handle and his size just get by players. But yeah, just like another one of these guys who's probably like a little overtaxed as a primary offensive option, like has struggled in the playoffs so far in his career. Again, he's only played 12 playoff games, so only so much to really extrapolate, but you definitely see his limitations propping up in that setting, in my opinion. And he's one who's really in an unideal situation. Like Mobley and Cade, like I think you can kind of complain, but like relative to Franz, I think Franz would be in heaven if you got to play with the Pistons or the Cavs offensive players. Like he really had to do so much for them on offense without much shooting, and their other star Paolo is just like not a great fit with Franz. Everyone knows like the on off numbers, like the Franz minus Paolo are so much better than the Paolo minus Franz minutes. And I do think that's reflective of just his ability to add some like floor raising value as a driver and a playmaker, and obviously his defense is ridiculously good. Like he is a guy who I think could make an all defense team or two in his career if he ever just gets like the recognition, because the Magic are always in the top three for defensive rating. And I think Franz is a big component of that. So yeah, I feel pretty good about taking him three. I think there's like a decent little after him. I think it gets pretty muddy for me, but I think Franz is a pretty comfortable third. But after that, I think there's a bunch of different ways that I will consider depending on how you pick.
Okay. So I just wanted to put the stat out there because you did say he was overtaxed as a primary. Honestly, I'm starting to think otherwise. Like I thought like he looked super, super good on film when Paolo went down in the beginning of the season and it was kind of the Franz show. In that 20 game stretch before
that early season stretch was
yes.
unbelievable. He had that
He
game
was
against the
incredible.
Lakers where he had like 40 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, okay, this is the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you
Love
said,
this
the
guy
stride. He looked like
consistently.
Manu Ginobili out there. He looked like Manu Ginobili out there. Like seriously, like looked like Manu Ginobili. The stride length, the skip passing, the finishing through contact. You know, wrong footing people, et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, in those 20 games, the Magic were 13-7 with the 8th best net rating in the NBA. So like that's a pretty healthy. I wouldn't say like he's as comfortable being a number one as Cade, but still pretty good at doing so for short periods of time. Rim finishing numbers are just awesome. Like he just gets the rim like at will. He's huge, by the way. He's like 6'10".
He's gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I think he would have been my third guy. But actually, so he's in this tier with me. I have like 6 guys in this tier. But I'm kind of high on some guys who haven't proven as much yet, but have had some moments.
So I'm curious to see who you're going to take it for then.
Yeah, so this one's tricky for me. I think... Okay, so I could do this like I could follow the status quo, right, and take the guy everyone thinks I should take. Or I could listen to my heart and just be like, like, I see it. I see the vision. And so, man, this is tough. Let me go Trey Murphy III.
Okay, so you're going to listen to your heart. Wow.
Yeah, because I know what the status quo would say. It would probably say one of the 2 guys has already been an all-star, but I'm saying the Toronto Raptors should have selected Trey Murphy III instead of Scotty Barnes. 1 second here. Let me pull up a little stat for you guys that I made once upon a time when I was writing for sportscasting. I still do. It's not past tense. Unless, they listen to this and they're just like, they hear that take and they're like, you're fired. You suck. You suck at your job.
Yeah, I'm gonna send this up to the higher ups.
Okay, but we were just talking before the podcast, right? It's not a podcast. It's not a podcast. Everybody has a podcast.
We're talking before the not podcast.
Yeah, the not podcast. Yeah, we were talking, and you're scouting. Like, so you scout a lot. You know the deal, right? There's 2 things I've realized this game of basketball loves: eyes and skill. And like Trey Murphy III has that in spades. Like he's an incredible shooter. He's huge. Like he's an inch taller than Franz. He's great at attacking closeouts. And like I thought, like for the longest time, I'm like, okay, this guy is going to be like the next generation of like the OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, like just these supercharged role players, right? But this year he showed us he's better than that. Like he upped his scoring volume while maintaining his efficiency on a team that was just like depleted. Like they could not like keep healthy. They did not have any like semblance of like real players out there for most of the season. Now, so he had a 20-game stretch where he averaged at least 24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists while shooting at least 48% from the floor, 39% from 3, 89% from the free throw line. So he did that, right? Here's the other guys who did that. Who've done that, right? You got Larry Bird. He's got 12 All-Star appearances, Hall of Famer, right?
Bird.
Jimmy Butler.
Awesome.
Jimmy Butler. He's pretty good. Steph Curry. DeMar DeRozan. Kevin Durant. Joel Embiid. Paul George. James Harden. Kyrie Irving. Nikola Jokic. Kawhi Leonard. Damian Lillard. Chris Middleton. Chris Mullin. Paul Pierce. Jason Tatum. And Dirk Nowitzki. That's the only other guys who've done it.
Those are some good players.
Those are all really good players, right? Those are some
all right. Those are some all right players.
Yeah, and so I'm like sitting here, I'm like, okay, so he's got all this offensive juice, right? Like he is, he has a ways to go as a playmaker. He's not very good at navigating tight spaces with his handle yet, but he can finish. He's got great explosiveness, right? He was second place in the dunk contest a couple of years ago. Insane shooter, like we talked about. Defensively, his defensive impact might be a little overstated, right? Because of of his body type, right? And you just assume he's kind of a 3-and-D guy because he's that tall and that long, but he's still a plus right on that end of the court. And he just has the skill set that fits with literally anything, any player. Like he could play with Zion, he could play with Franz Wagner. He could play with Evan Mobley. He could play with, Nikola Jokic. Like, it doesn't matter. And so I'm just sitting there like, yeah, there's two guys for sure who are more accomplished than him that I haven't picked yet, but I see the upside there.
I get it. I'm pretty worried about his defense,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think he just like is very high up and stiff for a guy with his level of athleticism. I would just like to see like more than a block per 100 possessions in any season in his career, or just more better than 50th percentile steal creation for more than one season of his career. Like I think there's so much potential to unlock on defense too, with just like a better situation too. But I do think he might always be limited there. But I can understand the Murphy thing. He is just a crazy shot maker, and I think there's a good amount of off dribble potential. I do think he's going to be eventually, I think, best as just like a supercharged third, fourth option on a very good team where you don't really need him to create much. Because even though he was like definitely better this season, he was still very inefficient. On the stat right here, isolations, pick and rolls, and post ups. He ran 5 of those per 100 possessions, which was the 77th percentile for wings. He was at minus 8.8 relative true shooting, which was just below league average for wings. So not like terrible. It sounds worse than it actually is. But I do think there's some limitations there, which is why I would probably take him a bit lower, but I can't say it's like so crazy.
And the other thing, so you're going to give your fifth pick, and I'll kind of retort why I went away from him. I'm curious, though, between the next two guys, because I know there's one of these two guys, one of the two former All-Stars, is what I'm feeling you got with the fifth pick, but picking at fifth, we have the Orlando Magic. So who do you have them drafting?
Yeah, I'm certainly going to ignore the Orlando Magic part of this, but I will take Şengün, I think.
Okay.
I'm gonna be boring and take one of the All Stars, but I really do think Şengün moved me this
Mm-hmm.
year in a way that he just hadn't previously, and I think a big part of it is his improvement on defense. Like he is just, and part of this is certainly scheme. Like Udoka's an awesome coach. The Rockets have, I think, the perfect defensive infrastructure for a non-rim protecting center. Just like a bunch of athletic, vertically gifted wings and forwards. Like he is legit super mobile now. I think he's improved as just like he's improved in space a ton. He can like backpedal and drop and defend to it one now. Like it's really impressive how far he's come as a defensive player, and I think that's kind of why I feel better about him than I did long term. Like, because I do still have offensive worries. Like, I think you can hopefully argue that like he was just like so inexplicably bad on those touch shots this year that hopefully it can regress. Like, he's never been an elite shot maker from that area, but he's always been pretty good. Where like he shot 60% at the rim this year. Or just from 0 to 5 feet, he was at 60.3%, 63.8% last year, which was still only 59th percentile overall. And I'm sure if you actually, I'll quickly pull it up. I'm sure for centers it's much lower in terms of percentile wise. So offensively, yeah, he shot. So from 0 to 3 feet, he was at 65.1%. That's 22nd percentile among centers. He's been 27th, 28th, 18th percentile throughout his career. So this has always been an issue for him, and I think it probably always will be. But Şengün is, to me, very overtaxed on offense. Like they ask him to do way more than he should, and I think it's because they need him to. They don't really have other players who can just like hold the ball and make decisions. So I think that's another area where Şengün's some of his limitations. Like I think he's obviously a very talented passer, but like his decision making and I think his processing in like the middle of the floor can be inconsistent. But I think you can argue that part of that might get better with better teammates. Like same with his scoring in some ways, right? Like his shot selection drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like he loves like the little one-legged fadeaways that have truly never been an efficient shot for him, where yeah, he can definitely make them every once in a while and it looks really cool when they go in, but it's never been a good shot for Şengün to take. It's not a good shot for most players to take, right? Like but
Minus Dirk and Jokic.
minus Dirk, Jokic, right? But I do think Şengün, like again, pretty good like post up ISO scorer at the moment. But I'd love to see him in like in an offense with more space that kind of gets him moving before he has to catch. I do have some worries just because like he's not a good shooter and he really does not space the floor well. And I think there are issues that obviously teams can crack down on him. But I think that combined with like he's still very young. He's 23. I think he's younger than Mobley. He's younger than Cade. I think he's younger than Franz too. Like, he's super young still, and he's going to be ascending. So, but I do think it's close between him and the other All Star, and at least one more guy, who I think has a very bright future. But I'll take Şengün at this point. But I don't think it's like I think we're beyond the point of there being like locks.
Yeah, no. What I was so back to the original Trey Murphy thing again. This kind of exercise specifically, it's a lot of like theoretical, archetypes we're talking about. So we're putting guys into boxes. We're missing a little bit of nuance by doing that. But
For sure.
like with Şengün, it's like I look at him. He's this offensive first center with defensive limitations, right? And the Rockets have done a great job building around those. I have a quick question for you in a second about the defense. For me, it's like, does the offense reach that threshold? Because we've seen teams win with a big man who's, not elite on defense, but incredible on offense. We've seen, Dirk Nowitzki, Nikola Jokic, but these are talking about best offensive players of all time who've done it, right? Şengün, do I see that? I don't know. I don't know if he's more Jokic or Sabonis on offense, and like, I don't think Sabonis is good enough. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if
I think
he can
he's a
get
good
there.
bit better on defense than those guys, though,
Mhm.
at least.
Yeah, so that was what I was going to ask you. Is where would you rank those three as centers? So you stole it right there from me. But I'm going to let you
Just like on defense or in total? 'Cause I
between the
assume
three.
you're not-
Rank them in defense.
Okay, I was gonna say, I
Sabonis.
assume you're not making me rank Jokic first.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I think I'm gonna take Jokic first. I think Şengün's clearly the best defensive player
Yeah.
of the three, and then
Okay.
I'd say Jokic and then Sabonis. I think Sabonis got better this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked how Doug Christie used him more at the level, used his foot speed and his hands to kind of get more out of him, and another one of these like non-rim protecting centers. But I think he's just so much less fluid than Şengün. I'm like, he's not as long, he's not as comfortable moving in space and playing at the basket when he has to, in my opinion. So I take Şengün as the best defensive center of those three. And I do think he came to the point where like I'm no longer really viewing him as like a limitation, right? I definitely think you have to build around him maybe more thoughtfully than your average rim protecting center. It's going to be harder to build around Şengün than Evan Mobley. Like everyone, like that. Yeah, it's obvious. I don't think anyone's going to really dispute that, but I don't think it's like impossible. I think it's a worthwhile thing, and I'd be curious to see like what he looks like in a more scaled down, like hub off ball, connective big role. I think he could be really, really good in that role. But obviously he's just like not in the situation. And even with Durant on the team, like I think he's still going to be in a situation where they need him to create and they need him to have the ball. Because Durant, as incredible as he is, he's not a guy who you
Never
give the
been
ball
creative.
to, have him bring the ball up the floor and make decisions on every play. Like he can do it sometimes, but that's still just like not ever been Kevin Durant's game, even when he was winning MVPs. Like,
I got into an argument with my buddies the other day. We were on a bachelor trip, and my one buddy's like, no, he's like,
the real life hoop conversations are awesome.
Yeah. No, I was just like, I forget what we were talking about. I think he was like, would you take in like a playoff series, like, for their offense solely, right? I'm like Kawhi or Kevin Durant. I'm like, I'd probably take Kawhi. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like if you didn't have another ball, no, just this was like I forget
That's a good question.
Yeah, it was a good question, but I'm just like, I don't know, Kawhi. Like, I just trust his ball handling more. It's more functional. It's harder to like to really jab at him and stuff. They're like, but you're thinking of old KD, not like young KD. Young KD could, he could bring the ball up, all this and that. I'm like, no. He does not. That was not his game. His game is catch at the elbow. He likes to hit you with a jab step. He likes to go hang dribble. It's all these quick hitting moves. It's not like a slow, methodical thing. You know what I mean? And like my buddy gets all upset at me and he starts showing me like highlights on YouTube of Kevin Durant doing crossovers, and I'm like, okay, man, like this is like what? Once every 100 possessions, every 100 scoring possessions, he does something like this. Like, come on, man, what are we doing here?
Era. They're pulling up the Obama era highlights.
No, seriously. Like, it was like Obama and like Vice VP Joe Biden era right now is what we're talking about. But anyway, so
yeah, I think Durant versus Kyrie, not versus Kyrie, versus Kawhi in the playoffs is an interesting conversation. I think I'd probably still lean Durant because I think Man, I probably trust him as a decision maker a little bit more, but like I think that's certainly a you and I mean assuming we're not factoring in like availability,
Mm-hmm.
because that would make me lean Durant. But yeah, I think KD is like going to be good just like bringing it back. Like he's going to be good for Şengün, but I also don't think he's this like magic bullet that immediately makes Şengün just some absolute, perfect fitting guy. But I do think it's going to help, and I'm excited to see how he can keep on growing this year.
So number 6, I'm not gonna follow my heart. I'm gonna go normie, but I'm gonna take the other All Star, and I really just want to talk about him because I don't think I figured out. I don't think I figured out honestly. Like I haven't figured him out yet. He's been in the league for 4 years, and I still haven't figured out how I feel about him. But yeah, that's Scotty Barnes going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I just like it's like
Can you
okay.
imagine
Can I imagine what? Oh, on the
Scotty?
Thunder, yeah, it would literally be perfect. Like if he played like the
That's disgusting.
oh my god, if he played Aaron Wiggins' role, that would just be, or I guess he'd be Aaron Wiggins' role. I don't know.
Hey, talk about a guy who we might talk about later.
Aaron Wiggins? I didn't even have him on my big list.
He was undrafted.
Oh
He was
man,
one.
I almost forgot another undrafted person that would have been like very very bad, like very bad. I almost
This is
forgot
a
him.
stacked undrafted class.
Yes, yes, yes.
I have 3 undrafted guys who made my short list. 4,
Okay,
actually.
yeah,
Three.
I mean, yeah. I have some too, but
I know you have at least 2, or at
I
least
have,
one.
I have, I have three. I have three.
Okay, yeah. I figured.
Back to who are we talking about? Oh, Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes. So the thing with Scotty Barnes, right? He has like this great like just role player skill set, especially on defense. He can do everything on defense, right? He's 5-tool defender, point of attack. He's got off ball play. He can play low man. He can switch. He can play all these different roles, right? He'll be at the nail. He can run all these coverages. He's a super cerebral player, which makes him a great passer. He's great at pushing the pace. Huge body, strong, right? He's built like a modern day NBA player. These strong like legs, and he's very flexible, and his movement is very good. He's got very unorthodox like driving game. He's a very fun, funky player, right? But the shot, like, so I just wonder how much he like that spurt in his third season when he made the All-Star team, like him just having a out-of-body shooting experience, how much that kind of propelled him to this All-Star status. Like I didn't think he should have been an All-Star last year. As much as I love the guy, I don't think he was one of the top 25 players in the league in 24. But now the shot comes back down, right? And he's like, nobody really talks about him at all this year because he's not healthy and the Raptors aren't healthy and the Raptors aren't very good. So I just don't know, like, what is this player? Is he like a really like super duper great role player? But if he is a super duper great role player, like he's not a spacer. So how does that hurt his value? He's not a big man, right? Or is he an offensive engine? But if he is an offensive engine, he seems pretty schemable to me because of his weak jump shot. And it's not like he's John Morant where he's just always going to get into the paint. You know what I mean? And you'd be saying like, okay, Franz Wagner, very similar player. We just picked him a few spots over. Franz's pedigree as a rim protector is just much more proven. I think he's got just a much more refined finishing package. He is
Oh yeah,
equal passer.
Franz is a team above body on offense.
And then well, the last thing I want to say is Franz has like a year's track record since being in the league of this incredible on-off footprint. Scotty Barnes is just like not there. It doesn't exist. The Raptors, they might be a little bit better with him on the court. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me. I remember being unimpressed when I looked at it 2 days ago. Yeah, can you talk me through the Scotty Barnes experience? I'm actually not happy with the 6th pick right now.
His on-off footprint is pretty pronounced on defense throughout his career. Like it is a pretty clear signal to this point. Like it's been markedly positive in every single year of his career. It's gotten better every year. But offensively, I think he's like a fringe all-league defender. Like I think he's a guy who I've been working on my top 25 defenders in the league series. And I will say that he and Franz were both 2 of my tough cuts. I think Scotty is like he's developed and is such a good rim protector, like moving him more off the ball on defense as his career has gone on. Because I think he kind of like started his career as more of like a point of attack stopper, and I just don't think that's ever been his real strength. Like, he's not the quickest guy laterally. His hips are a little high. But when you like just make him defend bigger guys, get deflections, get steals, he's a great shot blocker. Like 91st percentile in steals this year while also blocking a lot of shots. And he was really good defending the rim in terms of like contesting numbers, in terms of the difference in field goal percentage. Like opponents shot almost 7% worse than contesting at the rim. So his defense to me is really, really good. But offensively, I agree, it's a little sketchier. He's another one who's just not had a good shake in terms of context and roster. And like especially now, like I have no idea how this Raptors offense is going to look. I think I have a decent idea of how their defense is going to look, which is just kind of going to be an upgraded version of the stuff they did last year. A lot of trapping, a lot of switching, a lot of lineups with 6'5" to 6'9" wings. Like it's what the Raptors do. Offensively, I have no clue. With Ingram and with Murray Boyles and like I have no idea what they're going to do.
Not
I do
shoot
think
threes.
Scotty, in the best case, is probably going to be some sort of like supercharged offensive role player. Where I think his defense can kind of maybe keep him out of like quote unquote role player territory for me. But like, yeah, he's not a good shooter, and I'm not really sure he ever will be. He's had seasons where he's made shots from the mid range, and he's like a pretty good short and like long mid range shooter. But I don't think he's good enough at creating looks there to consistently score. This year was his worst year shooting at the rim, and he got there less than ever, but he still draws a bunch of fouls. So I think there's good indicators for, and if he is going to become an offensive star, it's going to have to become predicated on his driving. But I just don't know if his touch is good enough to really ever get there as like an offensive number one. Because like you said, he's never had a season above league average efficiency across the 4 seasons, and this last season was, I believe, his worst at minus 5.6 relative true shooting. Actually, no, 2023 was minus 5.7 relative true shooting, but it's not like horrible considering his usage and the fact that I think his offensive context is generally very poor. And I think the Raptors have relied on him a lot over his career. Like I don't know, like a lot of these guys, we're kind of talking about it, and this is kind of what happens when you're a high pick, right? Like you're gonna get, especially like when you're a high pick who works out and is clearly good. Like, you know, for all our Scotty nits, like he's clearly good, and the Raptors were happy that they picked him.
Yes. Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
But yeah, I do think he is just a weird offensive player that might make it difficult for him to work in like the highest leverage situations. Like, yeah, the Raptors offense throughout his career like is worse with Scotty Barnes on the floor ever so slightly. Just kidding, actually. Sorry, just kidding. It's ever so slightly better, but it's like very, you know, it's like less than a...
Yeah, so it doesn't move me like the way Franz does. Now, let me ask you this. Would you have taken Scotty Barnes over Trey Murphy in this redraft?
Probably. I think
Okay.
so. But I would have, but I think they're reasonably close in my mind. There's another guy who I would have considered over both of them.
Oh, I hope
probably going to be your next pick.
Well, it's your pick now. You're 7, but
oh wait, no, it is my pick. Okay.
Yeah, so the Golden State Warriors at 7, but if you do pick the guy I'm thinking, can I cut you off for a second to just say this? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let's talk about Jonathan Kuminga.
Oh god, I was actually gonna lose it. I was gonna just leave. I was like, you know what? Not only am I not doing this podcast anymore, I'm throwing. Well, it's not a podcast. This is not podcast. Not only am I not doing this,
I'm unfriending you.
Unfriending you. I'm quitting the industry. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna start underwriting at an insurance company. I don't know, whatever. But actually, real quick, before to keep the suspense going, do you think it would be better to say this pick first or say what I have to say about Stathead?
Say what you gotta say. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you guys could tell, me and Ben, right, we both work full-time in the industry. We're very thankful for that. But to do that, we had to become data fluent. We had to learn how to use different websites. Me and you have been citing a bunch of different websites. If I'm guessing correctly, I'm pretty sure you've been using Dunks & Threes, cleaning the glass a lot, right? Some PvP. Catch that correctly? Okay, there we go. One website that I really like, which is the one I actually pulled up that cool stat about Trey Murphy from earlier, right? About him having the same shooting season as Larry Bird, Jimmy Butler, Stephen Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, etc. Is Stathead, right? Stathead is basically Basketball Reference, but on steroids. And not just Basketball Reference, Football Reference, Hockey Reference, Baseball Reference. et cetera. Right? Are you a Dodgers fan? Dodgers fan?
I'm not a baseball guy. I
Okay.
enjoy when
Okay.
my stance on pretty much all LA, since I'm an Indiana sports fan, as you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
My stance on pretty much all LA teams is like I I like enjoy rooting from them from afar, and I like when they win because people around me are generally happy. But it's not like
Hmm.
something where I'm rooting for them. But you know, go with your Dodgers analogy.
Yeah, but yeah, so you like the Dodgers, right?
Sure,
Anyway,
why
you could
not?
learn stuff. You could learn stuff about the Dodgers using Stathead, okay? And if you use my discount code, right, for a year-long subscription at Stathead, which is Issa Hoops 20, just the name of this YouTube channel with a 20, you get 20% off, and I get a little bit of money, which allows me to keep doing this YouTube channel.
That was a smooth
Uh,
ad read.
yeah, thanks, man. I've been trying. I like to go for like the less like formal kind of like, just like I like to go for the down bad dude, like on the side of the roads, kind of like please, man, like I really need this. I need this money that I might be getting from this ad read. So, but anyways, go ahead and make your seventh pick.
I'm taking Jalen Johnson.
Yes. Oh
Um,
my god. Okay. Oh my god. Let me say it real quick. Jalen Johnson is Scotty Barnes, but moves smoother and is more athletic. Am I wrong?
yeah, I don't think he's that level of defender, but maybe he
I think
can
he
get
is.
there.
I think he is for sure, dude.
Interesting. I think he's just like pretty inconsistent. Maybe
Hmm.
just again, he hasn't played nearly as much as
Hmm.
Scotty over the last 4 years, so like there's just not as much sample, and I think maybe I'm clinging on to that. But, like, I mean, I'm not like gonna shit on the guy I just took with the seventh overall pick. You know, like he's a beast. I love Jalen Johnson. I think maybe there's some people who are higher on him than me. Like I do have some concerns in like the long term with how he consistently scores in the half court, but I also think he's a perfect like complementary offensive option on a Trae Young team. Like because again, he is a monster in transition. Like he's one of the best transition players in the entire NBA as a passer, as a runner, as a scorer. Like he really does it all. But Johnson, where like he is just a ridiculous playmaker for a guy his size. Like can really dribble in space and can make lateral passes. Great hub passer. Can like skip pass. He's got every tall pass in the book that you really want. I think this year on defense, he again just like I think the awareness is a little bit inconsistent, and you'll see him like kind of lapse and kind of float more than I wish he did. But he is just like so impactful regardless, where he grades out well in terms of impact metrics. He was effective protecting the rim. He got a bunch of deflections and stops and turnovers. He doesn't foul that often, relatively speaking. But yeah, I just love Jalen Johnson, and like another one of these guys who I view as kind of like a super duper charged offensive role player. Like not someone who I want to give the ball to and just like let him run the offense, but someone who I think on secondary pick and rolls and cuts. He's another one whose shooting is a little questionable. Like in 2024, he shot 35.5% from three on about league average on actually no, not league average, about league average volume in terms of per game. In terms of a per possession basis, it was very poor volume, and that was the same this year. So I do think, and I'm curious to see like we're finally going to get this version of the Hawks team in the playoffs this year. I feel pretty confident saying that. So I'm very curious to see how Jalen Johnson adapts to that. But I do think like when you compare him to Scotty, I think he's a guy who actually could develop into one of these like so dynamic downhill rim scorers. Like he's a great finisher. He doesn't draw as many fouls just because I think there's always going to be limitations with how kind of stiff and upright he is. I just think that's like just kind of built into how his body is and like a trade-off for how incredibly strong and fast and kind of explosive and hard to deal with he is in straight lines. But yeah, I think Jalen Johnson is awesome, and I think after him and maybe one more guy, I think there's a drop off for me. So I'm happy to
Yes.
get it here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a tier break after that guy. That's why I said I had six guys in this tier. I think after the top two, you could kind of convince me. Do you think, okay, before I get to my Jalen Johnson spiel, do you think that all six of these guys, so 3 through 7, and then the last pick that I'm about to make, they could all be all stars someday?
I mean a lot. I mean most of them have been already, right? Like
Yeah,
not
yeah.
most of
So
them.
like, two of them,
Could
two of them.
I mean, just in terms of conference, like it's going to be tough sledding for Trey, and I assume another Western Conference guy who you're thinking of.
Hmm.
Um,
But like build up to being a top
In
25
terms
player
of just
impact
like
wise.
being a top 25 guy, Trey, I have a harder time seeing than Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Johnson personally, just because I think the defense scares me, and I just quite without that, I'm not sure if he's like a legit on ball creator at his ceiling. But I mean, he's a guy who like there's just certain people whose like their philosophy is really preferring these like gigantic spacing wings, and from that perspective, I can understand it. I definitely be more willing to bet on Jalen Johnson reaching that ceiling because I just think he does so many value. Like I value his passing so highly. I value
Mm-hmm.
his ability to move next to other teammates, and he is more of a big. I think on like he has the mobility of a wing too, but like is much more of a big on defense than Trey, who likes. I mean, he's just not a big on defense. He's definitely a pure wing. So I think that might unlock a little more defensive lineup versatility. But then Trey, obviously, I think you can argue with the shooting. You could do other stuff with him. It's an interesting conversation. I feel like I'm maybe a little lower than like some Twitter people on Trey, but like it's a really good fun top of this class in terms of like just the wing forward bets. Like there's a lot of really high ceiling players. Obviously, like we're talking about guys who are already top 60 players, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's what. So that's I like this tier is kind of like the for sure. Like honestly, like very good, right? High level role players slash low end all stars. Like for Trey Murphy, my argument is like I see him as like Peja, Ray Allen kind of player, like this hybrid offensive scorer who's just like thinks there's just like a neutral, slight positive on defense, right? But the offense is just so perfect; it fits with everything. You could literally put them next to anybody. That's kind of the story I'm telling with him. With Jalen, I really wanted to take him over Sengun and Barnes, but I thought people would think that I was like trolling and just trying to be controversial for no reason. But I think this guy, like you said, like
I think it's
his ball
reasonable.
skill, his ball skill is incredible at that size. Like to, because here's the thing, we as people, right? We get these young players. We did it with OG and
We
Anunoby.
as people,
We as humans,
we as
right? We
human
did this with
beings.
I remember we did this with OG and Mikhail a few years ago. I keep comparing these guys to them because it's just the similarities, right? And we did this thing where like, okay, he's this great defender and he has, all these nice skills as a role player on offense. Now all he needs to do is like, he could take that next step as a creator and he could be Paul George, right? We kept doing this. Every like very talented wing who showed promise on, both sides of the ball were kind of like, they just need to learn how to create and they can be Paul George. That's very hard to do. It's very hard for a guy to learn how to dribble at the NBA level. I do dribbling drills with my kids every day. Like some kids are just better at it than others, no matter what. And they all put in hours, right?
It's a hard
It's
skill
it's
to.
very hard.
I think the NBA is good at getting guys to like a baseline of
Mm-hmm.
competency. Like I generally trust most players to like learn how to dribble without losing the ball off their foot. But I think it's
Yeah.
basically impossible to get to a guy where they're like a legit plus ball handler, unless it's these like once in a generation Paul George type stories.
Yeah. But I think Jalen Johnson has that shot. Like he
I
has
mean,
a chance to level
he's
up like
been
that.
yeah, but the thing that I don't really think it's as much of a development with him. I think he's always had that. Like I remember watching him when he was 15 or 16 playing in EYBL and being blown away with how he could move with the ball. So I agree with you that it's like it's not a thing where it's like we have to make this big leap. Where I think for Trey that's the case, right? Or for Scotty that's the case. Where these guys are just like not as natural with the ball in their hands. And I think both those guys have other things that are like important, but the handling I definitely think the that's one of the big things with Jalen Johnson. I certainly agree.
So would you have drafted Jalen before Scotty and Trey? Did I ask you that already?
Man, I would have taken him before Trey. But I think with you, I agree. It's like my heart says Jalen Johnson, my brain says Scotty Barnes. But like
Yeah.
I would want to bet on like if I didn't have to like have any stake in it, I'm like I want to bet on I
Yeah.
want to bet on Jalen. He's just sick.
Yeah. And I guess the injury is also problematic. But one real quick thing about the defense with Jalen Johnson, you said, he has this lapses. I have this suspicion going on with the Hawks. And I feel like I like Quinn Snyder. I think he's really funny. But like just from watching him this season, they seem poorly coached on that end of the floor, right? Like you're telling me you have all these like rangy wings, and I know they're young and they're learning and stuff, but you're 19th in defensive rating, You know what I mean? Like with that personnel, I know you have Trae Young, but they have great defensive personnel. Like I think this year is really going to be kind of a make or break season for me with how I
Yeah.
feel about Quinn Snyder as a
It's
coach.
a
I
tough
think
one because they
he's
finally have like an actual tall
hmm
center.
hmm
So if he can't put together a good defense with that, it's like
That's just my thought. That's just a suspicion I have, right? I'm like, maybe people like, I remember when he was the Jazz coach, everyone's like, this guy's like a genius. And I'm like, all he does is run spread pick and roll. Like, that's great. It's great that he does that. He understands, like, he runs spread in Spain and all this stuff. He does this cool stuff with Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley. But I'm like, and he looks like he doesn't sleep. So people are probably like, yeah, like, like this guy's just spending all hours of the day thinking about exercise. But I'm kind of like, maybe something's missing there. But with my eighth pick, I think the guy you think I'm going to take is playing basketball right now in your little area of the world. I got Austin Reeves, right? I'm happy with that pick. I love Austin Reeves. I think my thing with Austin Reeves, right? The big thing I'm trying to figure out. He's just for those who don't know, I guess, great on ball, off ball hybrid guard, right? His defense. He's a guy who gets hunted a lot. He tries hard, he draws charges, whatever, but he's gonna get hunted. That's just small, right? Not super strong, not super fast. You're gonna be a target out there. But what I'm trying to figure out, because this archetype is so weird, and I was just having this problem with Jared McCain, right? Where it's like, if you are a strong enough offensive player, like where you can get to that Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young category, right? You're an all-star, you're an all-NBA kind of guard, Jalen Brunson, et cetera, Stephen Curry. But if you can't get to that level, like if you're just Tyler Hero or Jordan Poole or CJ McCollum, you're kind of like, it's hard to start you. You're more of a sixth man, right? On a good team. You go from being like, a top 40 player to like fringe star. Like, you know what I'm saying here? Like, this is it's a tricky balance. Like, I'm like, for example, I didn't think Tyler Hero should have been all-star this year. I think he made a lot of improvements as a player. I'm
man,
proud of.
I'm very in on Hero this year. I disagree. I'm
Really?
very in on Hero this year.
Really? Okay.
I think he was really. I agree with your overall point, but I think
Mhm.
Hero is graduating himself from this group of CJ McCollum and
Okay, so you think he's like in the Darius Garland kind of crew?
I think he's moving that way versus
Okay.
I think that's the way he's trending. But I do agree
Okay,
with you
okay.
that yeah, I generally agree with your overall point though. I think
Okay,
what
so
you're setting up, I agree with.
now back to Austin Reeves. Now, if he is trending in the Darius Garland direction, which I think there are some indicators that could suggest that he has like this extra gear on offense, right? That we have yet to really see fully fleshed out because he's always been with superstar players, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic. Then I'm like, I'd probably take him. I was thinking, I'm like, man, I would take him. Like, if we get that version of Austin Reeves, I'm like I'd probably take him fourth or something, like how high could you go with him if you got that version? If you were guaranteed that he was like a good enough to be
Yeah,
like an offensive number one.
I mean, I definitely hear the argument for him up that high, and like I mean, he was that at times this season. Like he put 40 on the Pacers without Luka and LeBron and AD. Like in that, and like there was a game like around the trade deadline where none of their guys were playing. It's like, okay, yeah, Austin Reeves is going to get 20 shots and he's going to put up 40, and we're going to win by 20. So I think Reeves I like so much because of his kind of portability on offense. Like he really can do so many different things, but like also take on a creation load. And I think he's probably like a better decision maker with the ball than like your CJ McCollum, Jordan Poole type. And I think his kind of unique driving ability where has this like undeniable foul drawing craft that he's just better at than
Yeah,
most
he's a
players.
grifter.
Like
He's a grifter, man.
he is, and he always has been, that leads to him taking 7 free throw attempts per 100 possession, which is phenomenal for a guard, and he makes 88% of his free throws. He's always been a great free throw shooter. I think Reeves' main issues, right, like defense, he was really poor on defense in the playoffs against in that Wolves series. Like they targeted him on switches. I didn't think he was particularly inspired off the ball, but I mean, again, like JJ was playing five guys at
Yeah.
times, so part of me understands it. I really like Reeves. I mean, he's also older than all the guys we're talking about, which I think when we're talking about projecting forward, like Reeves is 27, and a lot of the guys talking about are 23, 24. So we're talking about improvement. It's like, do I think, like, would I rather have Reeves today or Jalen Johnson in 4 years? I think I'm pretty comfortably taking Jalen Johnson in 4 years, but like he's going to be better than some of these guys. Some of these guys aren't going to develop the way we think. It's just how it goes. I think Reeves is a really great bet on good teams. Like I don't know how much I'd value him on just like a random mid team because he's not adding a ton of defensive value, and I don't think he's like a number one offensive option by any means. But like he scored 20 points a game on +4 true shooting while also being a plus passer and floor spacer and off ball mover. Like he was really, really impressive this year. So I understand being very high on Reeves. Like he's awesome.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. He was 8th on my board, right? Is that where you had him too?
I actually had one guy ahead of him.
Oh wow. Okay, I feel like I know where you're gonna go with that too. Okay. But so my thing is like you're right. He doesn't have too much development left. Again, there are late bloomers and stuff. But my theory is what I'm saying is like, what if he already is that guy and he just hasn't had the chance? Like so. As of April 1st, this is not up to date for the last like 4 regular season games, but as of April 1st, when Austin Reeves played without LeBron and without Luka on the court, we're getting 27 points per 75 on 59% true shooting. Like that's like Donovan Mitchell averaged that for the season. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty, like what if he can scale up like that? That's what I'm wondering. Because if he can scale up like that, this changes everything. I'm operating under the assumption that he's not going to scale up.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He is awesome. I mean, like again, like I mean, I think the fact that he can just like do it in spurts is almost like almost enough for me. Like the fact that he can, when you need him to, like take over and just like have that gear. You know, when LeBron or Luka sit or when they're injured, I think that's like really important, and he has that today.
But yeah, I mean, right now I'm going to leave him under those 7 guys just because size. He is a little bit redundant, right, on a team like this Lakers team, which I guess I shouldn't penalize him for. But the size, we don't know if he can really level up like that or if he is. Like the volatility of the archetype is, I guess, what I'm saying. It's a very volatile archetype. It can go bad for you really quickly. I mean, we saw Jordan Poole was on top of the world, having pool parties in Golden State one year, winning NBA championships, waving and kissing beautiful women on the sidelines, waving at them, not waving them, but now, you know, obviously he's just a laughing stock, I guess, of defensive film nerds.
And
he was
now
pretty good last year. He was good last year.
He's in Washington and nobody's paying attention to him. It's like, he's actually kind of playing well, but that's the kind of position he's resided himself to.
Yeah. He's kind of been banished like a leper to Washington, but now he's on the Pelicans, which isn't much better.
Even worse.
Yeah, it got worse somehow. But okay. Speaking of poorly run front offices, at 9, Sacramento Kings are picking. They originally took Davion Mitchell with this pick. I assume you are not going to repeat that.
No, we're going to stick with the poorly run teams and take Herb Jones.
Okay.
Who I love Herb Jones. I think he is so phenomenal, and it's easy to forget about him because he played 20 games this year, and the Pelicans are a laughingstock. But he really is one of the very few best wing defenders in the league. I think his last healthy season. Oh, sorry,
Ben. Before you talk about Herb Jones, because I have him as my 10th guy, my 9th guy, who's I think very easily comparable to him. I want to just bring him in. I want to make my selection so we could talk about these two. Sure, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So at number 10, the New Orleans Pelicans originally had the pick. They traded it to the Memphis Grizzlies. They selected Zaire Williams. He started out pretty good in his NBA stint. Actually, youngest player to ever start a playoff game, right? Zaire Williams. Do you remember that? Against the Warriors? Yeah, he did that.
No,
but I can tell you where I was and what I was eating when I saw that come up on the screen. But anyways, I'm going to take Jalen Suggs at 10. Now,
yeah, he was the other guy.
Okay. So tell me why you think Herb Jones is better than Jalen Suggs.
Those are the two I considered. I just think Herb being a wing is just like, one, he's a wing, and two, I think I just feel like a little bit better about him fitting in on offense on a good team. But I think these guys are close. And I just also just like a personal preference thing is I personally love Herb Jones and I want him on my theoretical team. Like his defense is so crazy. I mean, I think he and Suggs are like a different flavor of defense, but like probably pretty similar overall in terms of impact and value. Like I'd probably take Herb overall just because I think like especially what I was gonna say like in 2024. I think he took a pretty notable step as like a rim protector. The Pelicans asked him to play more backline, so roam a bit more, and he was just like, "All right, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be one of the best at it." Because they had Dyson Daniels guarding the ball all the time, where now they don't have that anymore. But Herb is also like an elite on-ball defender, incredible pass lane jumper, one of the true elite wing defenders in the league, and someone whose offense I am believing in as well. Easy to forget that he shot 41.8% from three on over 4 attempts per 75 possessions. Like that's pretty respectable, honestly. I think he's gotten better as a playmaker, and he's gotten better as a dribbler. Like he's more comfortable making some basic decisions. I think that those like marginal improvements that we saw in 2024 are what gives me the confidence to take him over a younger player with like Suggs that maybe has a little more pedigree, but Suggs is also just like a rockin' player who I just have more offensive concerns with going forward, but just like another one of these guys who's gonna make plenty of all defense teams in his career.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 2 of the 5 best perimeter defenders in the league, right? 2 of the 6 best perimeter defenders in the league. So I think
certainly on the short list. Like
it's a draw. We call it a draw on defense. I think right there you're not going to go wrong with either one of them. For me, honestly, I'm the opposite of you. I have more questions about Herb Jones, like as an offensive player. I remember really enjoying his drive game ever since he was young. Honestly, I always thought he's been able to put the ball on the floor and score. And I think he has gotten a little bit better at passing out of those situations. Other than that, huge season he had in 2024, like he's just not been a good 3-point shooter, and I think it's really hard to shed that reputation. Whereas like Suggs, I guess it's the same story, but like better free throw indicators, right? He shot 88% from the free throw line this year. He has more experience playing point guard from his days in college. He's a better passer than, he's very good connective tissue passer. So I just trust the offense a little bit more. I think he's a little bit better at passer. I trust his shooting a little bit more. That's just me then. I think he showed more shooting versatility over the last couple of years than Herb Jones. So that's why I'm leaning there, but you can't go wrong with either one.
It was him and Franz and Paolo were out. Like he was taking a ton of pull-up threes.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you that Suggs, I think in a vacuum, probably a more promising offensive player. But I think because of Herb's size, that makes him maybe easier to fit if Suggs, because like Suggs is a good cutter. He's a good finisher, but I think Suggs shot 40% from three last year. He's been 32 or below every other season of his career. So, like, we're talking about 2 guys who have questionable shooting projections. But I think Suggs' best moments on offense have come when he's like that tertiary, low usage, spot up shooter, secondary driver. But I do actually think, like he and Herb are pretty similar in terms of like the offensive roles that they fill. But Suggs would have been very clearly my next pick. So like I think he's very clearly my next guy on the board. I think actually now there's a big teardrop for me after.
Really, I think there's one more guy. I think there's one more guy who deserves to be in this little mini tier I have with Suggs and Herb Jones. But yeah, this is basically a coin flip.
Let's see if I take him right here.
Before you say that, real quick, I just wanna kind of put a bow in this. It's very unlikely that Suggs and Jones develop into all-stars for you, correct? Very, very unlikely. Okay.
I could see both of them having like Derek Whitey all-star in type impact seasons where like the nerds on Twitter are like, this is a top 30 player, but then they're not, especially Herb. I think Suggs, like maybe Suggs gets a season where everyone's hurt and he develops enough to like put up 20 on poor efficiency and is also defending and he makes an all-star team in a weak Eastern Conference. But like you have to really tell yourself a story, and I don't think that's like a likely story. Right?
Yeah. No, it's not. Not at all. Okay, who's your 11th pick? You're picking for the Charlotte Hornets, who famously took James Bouknight after an incredible, legendary. What do they call that thing you do? The player workout,
like the pre-draft workout.
Yeah, the pre-draft workout. There you go. The legendary pre-draft workout. I remember the guy who trained him. I was at the combine, and he was like, everyone was like marveling at him. I forget the guy's name. It's like Ronnie. He's a really nice guy, but He's trained a lot of dudes. And like he was like bragging about, he's like, yeah, man, I made James Bouknight look so good at like his pre-draft workout. They took him 11th, and you see like this guy's not that great at basketball. So it was silly to me. But go ahead.
I will not be taking James Bouknight. I will be taking. I'm all the way in on this guy. I mean, I've been on this guy for a long time. This last season only kind of confirmed my desire.
Mm-hmm.
That's Quinn Grimes.
Yes. That's him. That's
Damn,
him. That is him. He's in there.
We're
Put him in the
we're
tier.
two in lockstep. I
Yeah.
get having him in this tier, like in this tier. I think I just want to see like the real on-ball offensive stuff with a little more of a sample, but I understand being bullish. And like the thing with Grimes that like has me high on him as a player overall is like this isn't like this isn't like a 20 game flash in the pan. Like he's been a good role player for years now. Like he was really good with the Knicks in 2023. Like I feel like the fact that he's bounced around so much, like he's had real shooting slumps, but on his career, like 3 of his 4 seasons, he's above 38% from three on 80th percentile volume or better. And then this year in Philly, like towards the end of the season, like yeah, it was he was the only good player on that team basically when they were playing at the end of the year and everyone was hurt. But like he was awesome as a live dribble creator. Like he was killing it as a pull-up shot maker. Overall this season, he was above league average. He was above average true shooting on creation play types, which was in the 71st percentile for guards. Like he was really good at getting downhill. He's fast. He's got a great little like stop and pop pull up jumper that he can access really quickly. And I think he's quick enough and has a solid enough handle to get downhill as well. He's a decent passer too, I think. Like nothing crazy, but like he's got a little bit of pick and roll stuff, and I think he's a plenty good connective passer. And like to be frank, he sucked on defense with the Sixers in that stretch, but I also don't necessarily hold that against him so much because it was such a fake situation, and I've seen him be good on defense on
Oh
more
yes.
real teams before. Not that the 2023 Knicks were. I guess the 2023 Knicks made the playoffs, so like that's again that's a playoff team that he was defending on really well. I thought he was good on defense in Detroit too, even if his like shot wasn't really good in that stint. But yeah, Grimes is someone who I think like the Sixers have obviously painted themselves into quite the corner, but I wrote about this when we did our thing for sportscasting on the 4 restricted free agents who Grimes is the only one who we've gotten to so far of the 4. Where I'm like, I get the apron stuff, I get the guards in that room, but like I feel like 20ish year is really fair for a guy like Quentin Grimes who I think can do a lot of things, but is also ascending and still only 25.
Yeah, I mean everything you said right there. I think of these three guys, Suggs, Jones, Grimes, he's got the best shot, like the best jumper of all of them. It looks the nicest. I know he's had his slumps, but it's a very pure
I mean,
stroke. He
he's
gets it
like
off really
very
quickly.
clearly the best shooter of that group. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think he's got that. I think he's clearly, even with like that Knicks team, by the way, people joke they were 2 games away from the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, that was a pretty good Knicks team, right? He was their best point of attack defender on that team, right? There's that, but he is a clear tier below Jones and Suggs, especially with the off ball stuff. I don't think he has nearly that kind of like off ball gravitas as they do. Why I'm taking him below them is because of that, right? Because defensively, he's just a tier below them. But offensively, I think he's got the highest ceiling of the three of them. I don't buy what we saw at the end of the season. Like, I thought, like, watching him, even in those games where he was really exploding, he just looks, like, uncomfortable. Like, he'll unnecessarily, like, pick up his dribble when he doesn't need to. There's just moments where, like, he doesn't move. Like, it's hard for me. He doesn't come off of a pick and roll the way you see a guy who's, like, a primary ball handler come off a pick and roll, right? He doesn't have the instinct to snake the pick and roll against the drop coverage the way, like, a great pick and roll ball handler would. Now, he doesn't need to become that. The fact that he's getting these reps and he's having some success, it makes him a better closeout attacker. It makes him, just a more versatile offensive piece, right? He can come off of curl cuts and catch and take 2 dribbles and finish the rim. Like all these things are going to help him. So I think he's got the best offensive ceiling of any of these 3 guys. And even if he is a tier below them defensively, I think I think this is the last player I would say that is like has the potential to grow into like a high level supercharged role player of this kind of thing. Would you say he's
A
got
couple
that?
more guys who I think have a chance to be like a real high level role player. And one
Okay.
of them I think. I think I have guys who I consider good role players now already, but
Yeah.
like I think there's one or two more guys who I'm like get them in the right spot and we're cooking with a little gas and there's
Okay.
something there.
Okay. Okay.
But
So I have
those are
the
more
12th pick.
projection.
Yeah, I have the 12th pick. This is honestly for me the last guy who like I feel like 100% like if I'm a championship team, I'm going to the NBA finals and he's one of my starters, like I'm cool with it. I'm hoping he's my fifth starter. Like he's like the last guy there, but I'm like I'm cool with it. I'm like I don't see any like clear flaws in your game that can be exploited, but this was the San Antonio Spurs. They unfortunately took Josh Primo. We're not going to really talk about him too much, but I'm going with Santi Aldama.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he is, I mean, like he has the fewest weaknesses, the fewest like, really fatal flaws of any guy that's left to me, right? You might bring up somebody that I missed, but floor spacer with rim protection, right? That's a very rare combination. I mean, you saw what Miles Turner did for the Pacers all those years. Brook Lopez did for the Bucks. Like having that ability. He's not as strong as they are, right? So he can't really spend too much time at center. He's more of a small ball option, but he still has the ability to, be a secondary rim protector. If he's your fourth spot, you have some good rim protection on that team because he is a plus rim protector at that position. Has a good jump shot, gets it off pretty quickly, continues to grow as a closeout attacker. This year, he was in the 69th percentile in drives, true shooting off of drives. So he continues to grow in that area. Just like a very additive player, somebody that's easy to fit in, right? If you have a center, say, who can't shoot, cool. Like if you have like I don't know, like Ivica Zubac, right? And he's your center, and you can put Santi Aldama at the four, you're cool. If you have Sengun, right? Who's like he's just not like a great defender, not clearly elite center defender, right? Fine, cool. Put Aldama. Sabonis, right? Put Aldama next to him. I'm sure the Sacramento Kings look a lot better if you put that together. And on and on and on, right? If you have a stretch five, you can put Aldama. He'll help mitigate the damage they might be causing you on defense. But yeah, I just think I think personally he's best available left again. But I don't see him as like being unless I don't know, unless the defense really improved outside of just the secondary rim protection, like maybe as a switch defender and became a little stronger. But I don't see him becoming like that Grimes, Suggs, Jones level player. But I like him. I love him a lot.
I agree. I pretty much have nothing to say about that other
Okay.
than I agree. I mean, I think he's definitely overtaxed on defense as like
Hmm.
your primary big, which is
Hmm.
fine. That's not. He's a four. I mean, he can
Yeah.
play. He can play the five in small ball lineups, like you said, and like Memphis closed with him a lot this year, even if he wasn't starting games. But yeah, I mean, he's just so skilled. Like really good ball skills again for a guy his size. I love his footwork mix up on drives, like decels. He'll go for a hop. He'll go for a 1-2, and like that helped him shoot above 70% within 5 feet this year. Like he was really efficient from all over the floor. He's like an okay passer. I don't think he's a black hole, but like he's not someone who's really adding a ton of value as a playmaker. But like he can keep the ball movement and keep the wheels greased. But like yeah, I really love Aldama. I think he's an underrated player. And someone who like Grizzlies fans don't like for whatever reason, just because Grizzlies fans seem to be kind of unhinged sometimes about their own team, but I really like Santi Aldama. I think he's just like such an easy fit on good teams. Like we've already seen the kind of value that he can impart on a good team in Memphis, and I think you pretty much put him on most builds, and he can find a way to impact. Like you said, just spacing the floor, close out drives, secondary rim protection, some rebounding, like not a world beater, and I think there's like higher ceiling guys left on the board for me, but he's an awesome player. I don't have any complaints.
Okay. Awesome. Now, before you make this pick, 13th Indiana Pacers, was this the last bad decision the Pacers have made, like since like going to the NBA Finals, like from the timeline of that, taking Chris Duarte here? Was this the last like poor decision?
Yeah. I don't have the guts to call the Matherin pick a poor decision. It's
Okay.
still I'm still very much jury out on that. But yeah, I mean this was the last classic Pacers what the hell are you doing draft pick that like on draft night I'm like what on earth do they think they're doing, and then it very quickly fizzles out. I will not be taking Chris Duarte if that's what you were wondering.
This is where it gets crazy to me. I don't know. I sat there like
This
for
is my
like
last
2 hours
pick.
straight. Yeah, this is your last pick.
Man, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna take the guy who I mentioned earlier, someone who I alluded to earlier. I'm gonna go with one of my other undrafted players. Um, Wait, am I dumb? No, he wasn't undrafted. Never mind. Very late drafted, which is Aaron Wiggins. Um, I love Aaron Wiggins, and I think he's kind of buried because of how awesome the Thunder are. That it can be hard sometimes to see how good he really is. Like he took a legitimate leap this year, in my opinion, as an on-ball creator. Like his handle and footwork, just like the way that he was actually able to like be a valuable secondary creator, especially in lineups without Shea, I think was really valuable to them. Like everyone kind of knows who he is, just like a low usage. I mean, yeah, he was like a good role playing wing on the team that just won the finals. Like everyone, that's like an easy sell for me already. But I think Wiggins has more in his bag than your average 3-and-D-ish wing, and like he's not even that spectacular of a shooter in my opinion. Like he's a very efficient shooter. Like he's above 38, 39% across his career. Like in 2024, he shot 50% from 3 on extremely low volume. And then this year he shot 38% from 3 on very high volume, like which is honestly like that's what I want to see, right? But Wiggins, I mean, just like he can do so many things, but I think he has enough of that creation juice to really be a little bit more valuable than your average just like 3-and-D spacey wing because of some of like the handle and the footwork he does. Like he has a really nice spin move that he'll go to. I think he has a little bit of ability to change up pace and to get guys off balance, which is like, most complementary wings just can't do. Most other complementary wings on the Thunder can't do, right? And I think we saw that. I think we saw Dagnall lean on Wiggins in spots where it's like, yeah, he didn't play consistently in the playoffs. I mean, again, I have a hard time really docking him for that just because of how ridiculous that roster was. But he had good moments. I thought the defense was great for the most part. But yeah, he's someone where like I don't even need you to put him on a bad team. Just like put him on a team that's less hilariously loaded than OKC, and I think people would be surprised.
Okay. Okay. Honestly, I will admit I might have forgotten about Aaron Wiggins. But I don't think I
Easy.
would have taken him over this next guy. Just
I don't
because
think he's
I
the
really
I don't think he's the clear best guy or anything. He's just
no
my
no no no.
he's just my like my personal favorite left that I also think is like good. It's a good pick. I stand by it, but like also just what I'm like this is just like an I want.
Okay, okay, I like that. I think just defensively I have some questions. I feel like he was probably I mean this isn't saying much, but I would say he's the worst defender out of the 10 guys OKC consistently played. Would you agree with
Isaiah
that?
Joe.
That's not that's huh? Oh
You think
yeah,
he's
never
worse
mind.
than
That
Isaiah
was yeah,
Joe?
yeah.
But like still like the worst defender on OKC is still like a solid defender. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not even like a bad defender. It's like, oh yeah, he's just like all right. Like he's not, he's just fine.
Yeah,
He's
I
not
guess
like
I just don't see
he's
him
a
as a starter on like a high. Like I'm not happy if he's like a starter on my high level team. Whereas,
I could see him
oh,
getting there on offense. It's just
okay,
kind of it's a projection for sure.
yeah, oh yeah,
But
oh yeah, oh yeah. This is just really funny to me because we're gonna go through this whole exercise without picking one of the three, like superstars. Because I'm not gonna be picking. I'm not
I
gonna be
consider
picking.
I considered one of them for my last pick, but
I considered all of them. But I did a lot of considering. But anyways, with my 14th pick, I would feel way more confident with this. By the way, the 14th pick was the Golden State Warriors. They actually took. It's actually hilarious. They took the guy I'm going to take. It's Moses Moody. They took Moses Moody,
that's
and
awesome.
I'm taking Moses Moody. And I think
Is that the only pick that we actually got matched? I think it might be.
no, yeah. Well, I kind of ruined it by not taking Scotty
Well, I
Barnes with the
ruined it by
fourth
taking
pick.
Mobley first. Like I messed it up with the first pick. So
That was very much a defensible pick. I
no,
think.
I know it was defensible. I'm just saying I
Hmm.
ruined the team synergy game.
I'm trying to think. Do we have anything else like that? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, okay. These teams would actually be pretty fun. Like seeing like Austin Reeves on the Magic, I feel like that'd be a lot of fun. But anyway, yeah. So Moses Moody, to me, I think this year, like the regular season, taken a ton of strides as an offensive player. Looked much better attacking off closeouts. Was doing some things for himself. I think he had career high in points this year. Shooting, the jumper looked better. And defensively, he was handling their hardest point of attack matchups even after Butler was traded to the team because, Butler's more of an off-ball roamer. Draymond, you need him for the rim protection. You don't want Curry doing it. You don't want Podziemski doing it. You don't want Hield doing it, right? So he was kind of the guy at the point of attack for him this year. And then he just shit the bed in the postseason. So I'm kind of like, he was just a rough postseason for the guy. Whatever it was. He played 12 games, shot like 30% from the floor, couldn't hit a single shot. Defensively, he was just kind of there. He didn't really make people feel him at the point of attack the way I thought he was in the regular season. But so, I mean, if we would have done this right at the end of the regular season, I honestly might have considered him. I would have taken him 13th for sure. I think I would still take him over Aaron Wiggins just because I see more of the two-way kind of role player-y starter, fifth starter kind of blend with him. But I would have considered him over Santi Aldama if the playoffs hadn't happened. That's really the only thing that's been holding me back with him. But yeah, I think this class is stacked. Like to have, because usually isn't it? You're the draft guy, so usually what is it? 20.
It's a really
20
good
rotation
class.
players. 20 rotation players per class, right?
I think there's probably at least 20 now with potential to be more like at some point. This is a great class. Like there's
Yeah.
plenty of guys who we didn't mention who I think would get mentioned. Also, I think relevant with Moody is that he's the second youngest player that we drafted, only to Şengün. So he still has plenty of room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably a little lower on his offense, sadly. Just he is such a good spot shooter and he can really drive closeouts when he's feeling it. But I do feel he can be a little bit of a black hole at times. If Moses Moody gets the ball, the ball's probably going up. Which when the shot's going in, I think that's valuable. I like his decisiveness. But like you said, just a nightmare playoff offensive series, sitch for him. Which I'm not so holding against him necessarily. Because we've seen him he made shots in the playoffs in 2023. I mean, he didn't play as much, I don't think, as he played in the playoffs this year, right?
He made shots as a rookie in the NBA Finals, or in the Western Conference Finals, excuse me. I remember being really impressed with him in the Western Conference Finals as a rookie. Yeah. What I was saying about the... Yeah. Okay, yeah. What I was saying, so don't they say, usually per class, 20 guys end up sticking in the NBA, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, we did 14 players, and, I think all of these guys could start in the NBA, right? All the guys we draft. Aaron Wiggins could start, if we put him on, I don't know. If we put him on the Milwaukee Bucks, honestly, he would start tomorrow.
He's their third best player.
Yeah, he would start tomorrow.
Low bar. A low bar.
Yeah, yeah, but, so, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be a top 6 team in the East this year.
Also a low bar.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the honorable mentions. Who would you have taken at 15?
I think I'd probably bite the bullet on Cam Thomas.
You would 15. Take Cam Thomas before any of the other ones?
I think so, just because I know he has one thing that is just undeniably elite, and that is his shot making. I'm not crazy about it, but again, Cam, another one of these guys who's on the younger side of the players we're talking about in this class. I do think has taken some leaps. His assist rate every year has climbed from 10% as a rookie to 13.3 to 15.1 to 21.9% this past year. I think his defense is still always going to be a huge issue. Again, one of the highest usage players in the entire league while still scoring on above league average true shooting. I think that's worth something to me in a complementary role player-y type role. If he's your fifth starter on a defensively slanted team, I could imagine that. I think he's kind of special enough in some ways on offense. We're just man, if you can score like that, there's certainly room for you. He was by offensive EPM, he was a top 15 offensive player this year. He's obviously not a top 15 offensive player in reality. We all know that. But he has some undeniable traits that I think are very worth betting on. I mean, he also played 25 games this year. And there's other issues with Cam that aren't necessarily on-court basketball stuff, right? It's just his wiring and some of the injury and conditioning stuff, which would push me on the board. It would have been him, Davion Mitchell, who I think got a lot better last year, was awesome for the Heat down the stretch. Also, shout out him, and then the other guy I had towards the top of my board left was Sam Hauser.
Okay, yeah, Sam Hauser's there. Honestly, so let's go back to let's go because it needs to be discussed, right? The Cam Thomas, Jalen Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey thing, right? Because like a lot of people are like, watching, listening. Hopefully, a lot of people are watching, listening, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully,
everyone is outside our window with pitchforks.
But it's like they're like, okay, hold up, like these are 20-point per game scorers you're talking about, right? Like, why are they not like finishing in the top 14 in a redraft? And again, we're talking about championship equity, and like, I'm just not comfortable with any of these guys starting on a championship team. I think they all have a very, very fatal flaw, whether it be not being able to space, not being good enough at what they do to justify them not being able to space. All of them are poor defenders. I would say Kuminga is probably the best defender of them, but that's more because of his physical attributes than
Yeah, I still wouldn't call him like a solid plus.
No. So where I'm going from this is like, okay, they're only like the only role I can really think of for these guys on a championship team is like they're like the sixth man. They're in the Jordan Poole spot, right? And I'm like, who would I want be in my Jordan Poole? And for me, I just liked Giddey the most. I thought, Giddey, because he's such a great creator. He's taken strides as a 3-point shooter. He's got a big body, right? He's got good hands for like swiping down. On defense, he's played on a winning team before. I know it's cliche, but he's played on a team with like really great defensive infrastructure before. They've been great with him, even though he was the weak link. So I kind of like him as a sixth man, but I considered all four of them. I considered all four of them,
And then like I also get the Kuminga case because like I think probably like is the hardest offensive fit. Like he's a really impressive driver when he gets going downhill and like, but he I think is a legit like point of attack stopper at this point. He doesn't give you much else on defense. Like that's pretty much his only pitch on defense. Like he can guard the ball and he can cut guys off and he's really good against like big wings and guys who aren't like lightning quick guards. Like he's a great on ball defender, but he doesn't give you much else. But at least it's like with Kuminga, it's like like back to what you were saying, like at the top of this segment, it's like very like thinking basketball-y, but I do really believe like it doesn't matter if you're an X point per game scorer. It's all about usage and opportunity cost, right? Where it's like anyone can be an X point per game scorer. It's the NBA. These guys are all ridiculously talented players, but not everyone can be an impactful player on winning teams. And to be frank, I don't really trust any of the three guys to do it at a high level. But I think, again, I mean, we're talking about this point where it's guys like definitely. I think the ceiling the ceiling of a Cam Thomas to me as a role player is higher than the ceiling of like a Deuce McBride, who I love, or like a Davion Mitchell. But obviously the floor there on good teams is so much lower. Also, Deuce McBride was another one in that group that I had on my list that I skimmed over.
A couple more I have is Jay Huff, your guy. He's going to be your guy now. Honestly, I would have put Jay Huff in my top 14. I need to see it more. I just need to see more of it. I think like the theory of it is he's like basically just like better rim protecting Santi Aldama. In theory, though. It's very theoretical.
Right.
So we'll see. But if we did it next year this time,
it was the perfect swing for the Pacers to take. Like it was the perfect swing. Even if Huff doesn't end up working out, I actually have another Pacers big man on my short list too, or like who is Isaiah Jackson.
It's a good one.
Who, I mean, I'd say I'm always sufficiently concerned about Achilles injuries, especially for players who are as reliant on their vertical athleticism as Jackson is. Like he is a freak explosive athlete, but I don't know, like he is super young and modern medicine is great. But like I want to see it. I was really encouraged with Isaiah Jackson in 2023, 2024. I thought he made strides as a defensive decision maker. Such an awesome like lob threat above the rim. Can even put the ball on the floor a bit, but he's another one where I'm very much like injury TBD. Like I would have considered for the back half of this redraft, but I just want to see how he looks. And see if he has the same level of explosion. Because if he does, I think he could easily be a legit starting big. But if not, then probably not, and that's just really unfortunate because I have a lot of hope for him. But
yeah, we only had one center, right? No, two centers. Okay, never mind. Two centers. But the other three guys I think deserve a little shout out. Trey Mann, he hasn't really gotten a chance to do it yet, but it seems like his career's ticking upwards
right after. Good start last year. I mean, he played 15 games last year.
Yeah. I think he's legit. As like a 6-man kind of. He'll join the Jordan Poole crew. I love Jordan Poole, by the way. I love him as a basketball, but I've come to terms with what he is. But anyway, Corey Kispert was very close for me. I think it's just the defense, really. He's great. I think he's better than Sam Hauser, in my opinion.
Interesting. I think
Hauser's
my take. Level above on defense, which is why I like Hauser.
Okay. I mean, right. I guess I meant on offense. Like, he's just got more off the dribble juice. I think he's got more versatility as a shooter to me. Better cutter.
Also, one who's just like been in such a worse situation too. Hard.
And then,
yeah,
I think so. I guess this could be our how we ended and all, but I guess nobody really cares at this point. We're 2 hours in, but I would take Ayo Dosunmu over Davion Mitchell. I like Ayo, man. I think people forgotten about him.
Ooh, good call. He was one who I totally forgot about too, and didn't even have on my list. But I agree. I mean, he's just like one that I kind of wasn't thinking about because of, I don't know, Bulls tax. Yeah, he's like, I mean, he's such a good downhill advantage creator who can really defend. I feel like should we at least give a cursory mention to the number 2 overall pick in 2021?
We mentioned Jalen Green. We mentioned him. I put him in the crew with the Kuminga, Giddey.
Okay, yeah.
Cam Thomas. He's unofficially in the crew. He just has better representation than them. Because he's got the contract and stuff. So, but
he has a sick agent.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Jalen Green before this because I was like, dude, I feel like I have to have him in this top 14. And I'm like, I go back on the dunks and threes, and I'm like, okay, so as a rookie, 55.1% true shooting. As a sophomore, 54.2%. As a junior, 54.4%. In his 4th season in the NBA, 54.7%. He hasn't gotten any better. Like, he has not gotten any better.
It's a shame. I mean, like, he's made some incremental strides in his pick and roll pacing and his, but it's all flashes. It's all inconsistent. Yeah. Like, still, so it's hard to say like there's real substantial improvement when it's not consistent. But just like, I'm looking through like all the players in this class. Like, there's so many players. So I think like you could mention here, and like you have the Champagnes, Day'Ron Sharpe,
Jericho Sims,
Jose Alvarado is a useful player. I love Jared Butler. Neemias Queta is going to start this year for the Celtics. I think Vic Krejci is solid. I really like Delano Banton as like a change of pace role player. I really like Kessler Edwards still as like a 2-way role player bet. Like, there are just so many players from this. Man, it just this is a really awesome class. Like, obvious, like, high end guys who we think can be top 10 play. I mean, I think Mobley's already close to being a top 10 player, but like, guys who are already in that all NBA range, but also we have like 20, 25 guys who I'm like, oh yeah, these guys could be useful role players. Like, I'd love to have a realized version of like a Delano Banton in my good rotation. It's just like a change up bench attack.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple questions before we get out of here for you. 1, over or under 6 All-Stars in this class?
Oh man. So we already have 1, 2,
3.
3, 4?
4. We have 4. Yeah. Sengun, Barnes. Okay, over or under 7? 7's better. 7's a better number for me.
I was gonna say, I feel like 6 is fair.
Okay, 6 is fair because I think Wagner is pretty much a lock to get one.
Right? Okay. So he's in. So I think honestly I like 5.5 as an over under here.
Okay.
And the question is, does somebody other than that 5 break in? I think I'd lean yes. I don't know who it is, but I think I'd lean yes.
I'm with you. I think if I had to guess, most likely, because who are we debating here between? We got Murphy, Reeves.
It just wouldn't shock me if there was a year where Austin Reeves got the usage to make it all.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for points per game and stuff. Yeah. Wow, what a class. How many Hall of Famers do we have?
I could see. Well, Evan Mobley's already got the gold jacket, so.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Ben, how do we find your work? I'm gonna put it all in there.
Find me on Twitter at BJPF_. My YouTube channel is my name, Ben Pfeifer. My work is at the same place that Matt's work is at. Sportscasting, Basketball Insiders, all plenty of NBA stuff coming up. I mean, lots of high school and draft stuff this time of year as well.
Awesome, man. This is fun. It's fun not podcasting with you.
Great. This is a great
making
this
YouTube stuff. Yeah, it's cool. Cool to get with you. Cool to redraft. Remember Stathead? If you want a Stathead account, 20% off for a year
So use that
account. Issa
discount code.
Hoops, so I can have money. Issa Hoops 20. I want to
So
have
use that
money.
discount code.
Let's build up my base. Let's build up my following. I want to get that, like, I don't want to ever be like this guy, because this guy just sucks in life, but, like, I want Donald Trump's base for my YouTube. Wouldn't that be great? Like, just to have, like, that many people, like, following your every move.
Yeah, you're just gonna have like a billion morons being like, "Yes, I agree that
Yeah.
I agree that that I don't know, Moses Moody is undervalued." Yes.
Trey Murphy's better than Şengün. Yeah. Tell him the deep state is ruining his career. But
yeah, the woke left has
the woke left has destroyed it all.
the woke left has just is the reason that Aaron Wiggins doesn't get more love.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll let you go, man. Thank you all so much for everything.
For sure.
All right. Thank you, guys. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Cool. See you next time.